Really excited about our episode today because we're going to be talking with Robin Gladstone about asthma and how homeopathic remedies can be used alongside your mainstream medicine, how they work differently, and how you will be prescribed differently. In fact, how you will be learning to read your symptoms yourself so that you know when you need to take the remedy. It's really interesting information. I look forward to seeing you through. Hello, welcome. So lovely to see you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm really pleased to be able to welcome Robin Gladstone. Welcome, Robin. Lovely to see you again.
Nice to see you as well, Mary.
And how is life in Vancouver Island today?
It's been very foggy I live in a valley on the island, so it's like an icy fog.
Oh my goodness.
It's cold, but I get outside and
Yeah.
yesterday we had some sun and I can drive to sun if I really want to. So, but
Okay.
it's island life.
Yes, yes, yes. We know about island life, don't we?
Mhm.
So today we are going to talk about asthma.
Yeah.
And of course, do you find that you have a lot more clients contacting you with asthma in the winter? Is it a seasonal thing?
It can be seasonal, but generally it's more about there's allergic asthma, which is usually that's kind of what I deal with
Yeah,
is allergic asthma. And then and most of that is asthma since like 6 months old. They get diagnosed when they're very, very little. And the cough, you know, exercise is really what children tell me
yeah,
brings on their asthma. So I don't find in the winter there's more of an uptick personally. I haven't had that experience. It may be for someone else, but
yeah.
it hasn't been. Springtime, because the hay asthma, um, that's really common. That's often when I would get a lot of calls when I start getting referrals for children is usually in the spring because they're starting to play sports. They're out in the environment and there's all the pollen and things like that. So that's really when I find that's when my practice for around asthma will tick up. So
Okay. And
mm,
I absolutely celebrate when parents bring their children at a young age for asthma because homeopathy is so good, isn't it?
when I was a student and I was just starting my practice, and I had done an acute practice for a year. I was encouraged to do that with my teacher. She's like, "You could do this." I'd taken a few courses, and I was already finished the first module of acute prescribing, and I was really scared because I got an offer to have an office space for free, and she said, "Do it because you'll learn what a chronic case is and what a true acute is, and if you get a chronic case, just refer them to the clinic." Because
Yeah.
we had a practicum. So it was really good for me and it made me comfortable being able to say that. Nobody ever balked at it. It was a great thing. So I ended up getting a lot of children. My son was probably he was probably 7 when I started practicing. And a lot of kids from the Waldorf school were I went and did a talk there and then I got one child with asthma, and her asthma was short lived. Funny, like she wasn't on a nebulizer a lot.
Hmm.
It was more exercise induced, and it just wasn't very deep, I think, for her. She still had asthma, but she was, I did her constitutional treatment and she was fine.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
that was just like 1 year of
Yeah.
constitutional treatment.
Yeah.
The second case that I have, that's my longest case, was I think I treated him for 4 years or 3 years. So I use, as I said in my last podcast, I use LM potencies for constitutional treatment. And so I compound them. They're always supposed to be liquid, and I compound them. So I didn't, it was interesting. I got this child and referred to me, and he had been seeing another homeopath for quite a long time and was on a remedy. And when I got the case, I had said to my teacher, I don't know why they stayed for so long with her. Like, it's amazing. I'm so impressed that they want to see me.
Yeah.
I thought they would give up homeopathy. It didn't do very much, his first remedy. And it was interesting because it was really based I don't know this for sure, but he was red-haired and freckled. And you just think, which remedy could that be? And so he was on phosphorus for quite a while, and they just were like, he was going to the hospital. That's like often.
Yes. Yeah.
So I was at a meeting with an alternative school, and he was there. I was at a board meeting there, and he was outside, and it was fall, and it was also a very damp part of the county. There were wet leaves everywhere. He was 4 when I saw him, so it was like for getting ready for kindergarten. And he was outside playing, and the next thing I knew is he came in, and his face was kind of getting puffy, and he was wheezing, and they like whisked him away to the hospital.
Uh-huh.
And so that was kind of an interesting thing. It was my first experience seeing such a big reaction allergy wise. So they made an appointment with me, and they talked to me, and he was allergic to cats. He was allergic to milk, but he likes milk. He, really loved sweets. The cat thing was really big. He could not go to a friend's house that had a cat. Even if the cat was outside, he would come home and they would have to use the nebulizer. And so I took his case, and this was in the days of everything was tuberculinum for me.
Yes. Yeah.
And he was a perfect tuberculinum. I mean, I didn't know if he would be, but he was.
Yeah.
I worked with him the first month. So he was on his remedy 4 weeks. He was on the LM1. And they told me that he only had to go to the hospital 1 time, and it wasn't very severe, that he got there and they didn't even have to use what they normally do to bring it down. I forget what it's called right now. It's a big steroid. And then they just kept doing the remedy. And I saw them at their 6-week follow-up, and he still used his inhaler once a day.
Okay.
But he had no episodes of going to the hospital, and no episodes of like real flare-ups from anything. I treated him all the way to an LM20 over the years, and then I started descending on the scale.
Okay.
So he was so much better. By the first year, he wasn't going to the hospital at all. He was using a nebulizer maybe once a week, more for acute episodes. So before that 4 years, probably somewhere in the 6-month mark, I let them try a 200C for an acute episode before they would go to the hospital to see. I said, your child better than I do. You're there. It's the emergency. If you feel comfortable giving him a 200C, just call it. See if that works. And it kind of did. Mm-hmm. It wasn't perfect, but it definitely kept them from going to the hospital. So very soon after that, maybe a month after that, I gave him a 1M and just didn't do the LM1 that day. So just stop for 2 days and give him a 1M and let's see what happens. And he did brilliantly. And so we kept with the LM daily, but I gave them a 1M to hold on to, a little vial for an emergency. And we had voicemail then. I didn't have a cell phone. They would call and say, last night we gave him an LM and he went back to sleep and has been fine. We didn't have to go to the hospital. So I had it all in my files. And I never, I'm always looking to see, do I need to change the remedy? Has anything shifted that did that? It never did. It just got better and better. And as time went on, he was able to have a sleepover at friends' houses who had cats and not react. For a while, he would come home and have a little bit of a reaction. I would either have them do the LM twice that day, like try that, because you don't know what's going to hit someone the right. Sometimes you just need to do your constitutional twice. Yes. See how that goes. Yeah. And then if that doesn't work, go ahead and give them a 1M. Yeah. And they never had to do the 1M. It was always like, by then his vital force was getting stronger and stronger from the remedy. So he his vital force was getting stronger and able to get out of that little hole that they get in. Yes. Of being stuck having to do the nebula. I mean, that's the circle, right? That's why parents come to me, is that they're doing this and is it going to work? And, studies have shown that long-term use of nebulizer, they have to switch them all the time because they don't really work long-term. Yeah. And medical professionals recognize that it's not a cure. Yes. So what do you do? What can you do? So
they can't offer anything else, really, can they?
No.
So you brought up a number of things here that just need further explanation. First of all, explain what you mean by compounding.
Okay. So compounding is anytime you take a remedy out of its pellet form and you make it into a liquid. And
Okay.
here in Canada, we legally have to do that. In the States, you're supposed to give someone the entire bottle of the LM, just
Oh,
dry. And I don't do that. I
no.
compound because
Okay.
people don't know.
No. So when you've got the solution then, and you're succussing it for
Yes.
each use, can you just explain roughly what succussing is?
So succussing is when you take the bottle in your hand and you take the bottom of the bottle in the palm of your next hand and you do it hard. You do it. I have them do it 5 times. I do it 20 times when I make the remedy. And I can't remember where I read that. It might be the
Okay.
Organon. It
Yeah.
might be Hahnemann Revisited. You do it. So what that does is you're not supposed to take the same potency every single day.
Yeah.
That's how you get approving for a
Yes.
long term, though, not like 3 days in a row or,
Yeah.
but you should do that when you're doing something that's going to be months and months, even 1 month. It should be succussed every time. And what that does is it bumps the potency up like nanoparticle wise,
Yeah.
just so the body isn't, the vital force goes, oh, okay. It's, we're sparking now. We're still not, just going along on this line. So compounding is that. And compounding pharmacies are also pharmacies that make remedies as well, just making your pellets. It's just, it's lactose pills. And they have a whole system of how they put the medications on. And
Okay. Okay. So let's just touch on the facts, because obviously usually we don't talk to people about taking a remedy for months and months and months. So we know that LM is a way to do that, but
yes,
we would never recommend that somebody take something for months and months and months without checking in to
exactly.
somebody, because if anything changes, they need to change what they're doing. So, of course, when we're asking people to take a remedy, we're asking them to ask their body to change something. When it does change something, we need to check in and get new instructions effectively, don't we?
Yes, exactly. So
So,
yeah, even in an acute situation, acutes move a lot faster. However, there have been coughs and colds this winter that linger. And some of those require you to just take the same remedy for a
yeah,
little bit longer than you might normally take. So a couple of days, maybe just, and I don't ever say, oh, do this 3 times a day, or, it's like, let's see how long. I have people I put it in water and have them stir it up and
yeah,
take a little teaspoon and wait 5 minutes
yeah.
and do it again
Do another
and
one.
see how
Yeah.
things go. And I tell them what we're looking for is for you to have longer intervals between taking the remedy. But sometimes it takes more than one dose of something when there's something serious going on. Sometimes you need to sit with that remedy for a little bit. I've done it myself, so that's really kind of fun for me because I get to tell people, yeah, I was trying to fix a sty and I
Yeah.
did 3 different remedies, and I did go back to one of them because the symptoms changed, and I ended up having to do a 200 in the end, just one. I thought it might be more. It was one, and it just, that was what cleared it in the end. So it's all about potency and repetition.
Of course, and that
Yeah.
dosing. So, of course, if anybody wants to find out more about potency and dose, just check through our podcast, because we have got different
Yes.
ones there on that, and ebooks and things that you can download as well. But okay, so let's go back as well, because you were talking about giving a constitutional remedy, which happens to be a miasmatic remedy. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But you were talking about giving it in 2 different potencies for different reasons, with
Yes.
acute and with the underlying chronic. So let's just go through again what an acute flare is of a chronic disease.
Okay, sure. So I'm going to talk about particularly with asthma, but it can be also with eczema or anything that is a chronic situation that you have. So,
And just to verify that a chronic situation is something that you've had for 2, 3 weeks or longer. So you might have had it for years, you might have had it for 6 months.
yes, and it's usually longer than like 2 weeks,
Yeah.
but it can be. It's something. It's long standing. It's not going to resolve itself quickly. I mean, that's the difference. What was the question again? Sorry.
Acute flares.
Oh,
So
right.
what are acute situations of chronic disease?
So in this case, when this child went to play t-ball, for instance, he's on the field, he's exercising. That's something that triggers asthma. And the other thing, not off topic, but there are common symptoms for asthma. So those kinds of things are really important for a homeopath to know, because those are sort of medical, right? You need to know pathology. What is normal? Otherwise, you're prescribing, or you're trying to find symptoms that aren't really that helpful, because they're chronic. They're common for asthma. But what is different for every person? So in this case, even though it is a common symptom for a child to be having exercise-induced asthma, I still look at that. I don't put it in for my, decision making, but I know that it has to fit there.
Yes.
And so running around on a field and then starting to wheeze, and you're out in the grass, that's another thing that's inducing it. And there they are, they can't breathe. It's really scary. There are several remedies that are great for that. So I wouldn't personally, because I'm treating a child and I'm not going to switch something up and throw something in there. I know that his constitutional or chronic remedy works beautifully for him. I will have them try that first.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? If there's something drastically different, he's having tremendous anxiety, it's not something he usually gets. Maybe if his remedy didn't work, maybe we're going to try a different remedy in that moment. Honestly, I will tell you, in my experience, I've never had to do that. When a really well chosen remedy fits, it works every time for them, acutely or chronically. I had a different case. It was phosphorus. I've had a different case that was arsenicum. And both of those, and I don't do it as a protocol. It's not like, here's your remedy, you're going to do it 200. I just wait and see when they come see me. And then I talk to parents about what to look for, when to stop doing that remedy, for the acute. Like, did it work? Great. We're going to leave it alone. Right. So they learn alongside me that you're paying attention to your child. There's no magic. There's no magic thing. Do this 3 times a day, 30 minutes apart, and only do a 30C. That just doesn't really work for me.
I think also the opportunity to say, okay, we would like you to notice this, this, and this, and then try this, take another dose, do this. It just is teaching you how to actually listen to your body, doesn't it? And take back responsibility for how your body is holding those symptoms, as opposed to how everybody does. And it's very difficult for new clients to homeopathy, new people, because they don't get this. They say, well, why don't you just tell me exactly, tell me, how much water do I need to put it in with? Tell me exactly, because they're worried about getting it wrong. And our whole message is, this is about you learning about you, isn't it?
It is. And learning about your child. I mean, I do a whole little talk when I do my discovery call. It's usually more than 15 minutes. And I just tell people how I practice. And I tell them that homeopathy is an opportunity in a very fast world to slow down and be present, because that's what it takes. I mean, I have to be very present with a client to notice the things and notice what they're saying, what they're looking like when they're talking about it, or when they're and I like to see children. Children are great. I in my early time, I gave Nux vomica to a child who, in my heart, I was like, no, I think I gave him phosphorus. I don't remember. I gave him something, and I knew when he left, I was like, I don't know. Maybe I should have done this. I was still a student. He came back, first of all, he goes, well, I still have asthma. And then he said a few things, and I was like, it's Nux vomica.
Yes.
And then it was great. Then it was great. So kids will tell you, that's the great thing, if it's working or it's not working. When they're very little or very sick, they're just like in their sick and you have to pay attention. And I think what happens a lot with parents or home prescribers is they're so used to like, oh, give them this and give them that and oh, it's not working, instead of, which is why I tell parents and I tell my own clients sometimes, put a pellet in some water, about half cup, stir it up 10 times, take a sip or a teaspoon, cover it with a dish, wait 5 minutes, depending. Sometimes I'll say 10. I'll go 5, 10 minutes. Or I'll say, if you feel like any shift, just wait and see how long that shift holds. Don't wait till it gets really painful again before you do another sip.
Yeah.
And they have gotten it they've gotten it down now. And
it makes such a difference.
It's a real difference, and it helps. I think it helps you, like what you said, you take responsibility. I always tell them, I'm not here to fix you or fix this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to look at how you respond to the remedies that I choose by what you tell me is going on. And
we do this together, don't we? It's got to be.
Yeah, we're on a journey together for your.
Now, what's amazing is that, well, the two things are just coming to mind. One is we need to talk about the fact that we can take homeopathy whilst having steroids or nebulizers and other things.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is that whilst you are taking a remedy for, let's say, whatever it's for, asthma, you're not really taking it for asthma, you're taking it for you. So we often find, I have families ring and say, and then mum will contact me and say, look, we've all come down with flu. What remedies should we take? And I say, well, your other children that I haven't seen, give them this, this, and this. But the one that I'm seeing, leave them, because they're already taking the remedy that they need.
Right. It's a very different way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And there is this notion out there that you can't do any kind of, medication. I had someone recently with, she had a nerve situation with a tooth, and it ended up going to her whole jaw and her head. She only had a 30C. I thought, okay, let's see. And I knew it was working a little.
Yeah.
And she, on the third day, because she didn't have a 200, I knew that's what she needed. Sometimes that is, sometimes, not every time. Sometimes you can do that 30C in water and keep it going. And it did keep her like on the edge enough. But at one point I was like, go ahead and take the Advil so you can sleep tonight. Yeah. It's okay. She was like, oh, I didn't know if I could do that. And I'm like, absolutely. You use everything at your disposal. I would never tell someone not to take their nebulizer. And a lot of people think, oh, you're going to cancel out the homeopathy. When I was in India, people drank coffee like crazy and tea like crazy, and they did homeopathy and they were fine. Yeah. And I learned to kind of chill about those things a little bit, and you do what you need to do. So you use your nebulizer. I mean, honestly, when we think about it, asthma is a life-threatening condition. It can be. It is. So you're going to take that nebulizer on the way to the hospital or when you wake up in the night. You do it for as long as you do. And the body, the amazing thing about homeopathy is the body will go, oh, I have this, so I'm getting stronger. You need the nebulizer less. And like I said, I had this child for 4 years and descended on the scale. Yeah. But then they called me about 2 years ago, and he started to, weed is legal in California, and he wanted to smoke weed with his friends. And she's like, can you talk to him? And I said, your parents spent a lot of money and you spent a lot of years. I saw you when this was going on. Talk to your parents about edibles, because you can't smoke. You just can't. Your lungs are not going to be happy. And they said like he had no more episodes at all. Like he was playing sports. He was at friends' houses. No, like he was a teenager by then. Yeah. No episodes. So I just was so happy to hear that too,
I know. And especially when we've got clients who are having to go to hospital regularly, and we know that it's just helping, with that situation right now. But the difference is with homeopathy is that over a few months, maybe a few years, you actually are really strengthening the lungs, and it is not something that you have to live for forever. And I think if we are more open about saying, yes, I know that you're on steroids, it's okay, you can still come and you can still get well, then a lot more people might be willing to try it.
Yeah. I think there's information out there that's just conflicting for people. We had a really great clinic in my school. I was very lucky. It was really small. It was in a house, but I saw people that were on like diabetes 1
Mm,
and had lived with it their whole lives and were on like a basket of pills.
yeah.
And I thought, wow, and drank coffee all day. I thought, wow, how is this going to go? And we always were like, we'll see.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. On the first follow up, this man was like, oh, I've had to shift because I have to test my insulin. It's so much better. And
Yeah.
I have to not take as much. It was really interesting to see that. And I thought, you can see people who are not living a super healthy lifestyle. It might take longer for them, but if it's the right remedy and they are willing to do some things,
Mm.
it really does work. There's not all these, hard, fast rules. I mean, the big hard, fast rule for me is don't have anything in your mouth that, is very flavorful.
Yes.
I've treated horses for years. You can give it to them in a carrot if they won't take it any other way. Interestingly enough, though, horses, when they know they're better, they would come to me when I showed up and
Yes.
stand there.
Yeah.
It's so phenomenal.
Absolutely. I give horses the remedy in the water very often, and
Yeah,
especially for things like sweet itch, if they're out in the field and there might be other horses drinking, and you know what, it's not going to affect the other horses.
No,
If they don't need it, then
no,
nothing happens.
great.
It's absolutely fine.
I know people always tell me that because I do sometimes treat people's pets and they're like, oh, my other dogs are drinking out of that dish. I'm like, oh, it's fine. If they need it, it'll work for them. But,
Yeah.
nothing will happen. It's the same. If you take a remedy that isn't your right remedy, it doesn't do anything.
No,
That's why
no.
that child came back and said, I don't have it. I still have asthma.
I have a lovely story actually of the horse next door to where I live, and she actually has to go, or had to go, on a Ventolin inhaler as a horse for 10 years, until I moved in next door, and she hasn't had anything for 18 months now. So it is amazing. It is absolutely amazing how it just changes everything.
It's really incredible. Yeah, I had a horse that I worked at a rescue ranch, and I had a horse that I just loved and was there with him for 8 years. And he was a racehorse that had been broken, and he lived for like 5 more years, and just the energy work, because that's the thing that people don't quite understand is that it's energy medicine. It's not suppressing symptoms the way that, certain things. I mean, Advil suppresses. That's okay once in a while. You sometimes need that. I had to do that a while ago. I had a horrible headache. I don't get headaches. I was getting sick and didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
I had this headache and I thought, I can't look at what remedy I need because I have this headache. And I just was like, I'm just going to take Advil. And then I was like, okay, let's see what's going, then I was able to figure out what I needed,
Yeah.
and the headache didn't come back, which was fine. But some people are like, oh no, you don't need to do that. I'm like, give your kids some, it's okay to do that.
Yes, it is okay. We have got to survive. We have got to live. And we know that homeopathy works in such a different way, that we can work alongside.
Yeah.
It's brilliant to just have this opportunity to talk, Robin. We could go on chatting for absolutely hours, couldn't we?
No.
Let's come back and talk about LM potencies.
Okay.
Because we haven't got a lot of information about that, and it is something that I am finding that I'm using more and more as more people are on medications. It's kind of needed as the world evolves, I think.
It was needed during Hahnemann's time. That's why he wrote the 6th edition of Tuberculinum.
Yeah, that's true.
That's where we got it from. It's the gift.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to say something about LMs that it's a little miracle thing. So I'm treating this woman right now who's she's close to 80. She lived in France her whole life. Now she's in Virginia. She's been with her husband there for many years. She grew up on homeopathy and it didn't work for her. It gave her aggravations or exacerbations. I don't know why. I don't know the potencies. She doesn't know. She's lovely. She's a pulsatilla. And it was so clear to me through the case, while I took it. Anyway, I gave her an LM1 of pulsatilla and said, don't worry, it's a very gentle potency. However, I have had people aggravate on it, and it just depends. But there's ways that we can deal with it, and I don't have to worry about fixing the aggravation. We just stop and either put some camphor or drink a cup of coffee or just let it ride for a couple. It usually takes 2 days. And then I've had someone who've had to sniff it, and it's worked. They still succuss it and they sniffed it. I had one client in my whole practice and it worked amazingly. So I said, so she was really reassured. And I got a text from her when I texted her to say, let's schedule your follow-up. It's due in like a week. And she's like, I'm so excited to talk to you. I'm doing so well. And then when I did her follow-up, she said, I can't believe this. Like, this is the best remedy I've ever had. And I'm better. And like only 4 weeks later, no more UTI, no more pain, and she had all this energy to go take her dogs for walks. I mean, I'm still like excited. That's why I do this. I'm still excited when I'm like, oh, it worked. So LM potencies they were intended by Samuel Hahnemann when he decided, like the whole point of homeopathy was like, he was a doctor, right? So do no harm, right? Okay. You don't want to have suffering. So this idea of C potencies and aggravation is a good thing. He said, maybe it's not, we should be doing something that doesn't cause big aggravations. And he came up with the LM potencies. And my school taught to that. So I didn't know anything different other than I knew how to use intercurrents. And sometimes, in acutes, I always do a 30C. I don't even bother with a 6. The only time I ever did was when I was scared and I was doing eczema cases and they needed sulfur. I never started, I do this. If I had to do an intercurrent, I would do a 12, to start. But now over the years, I've gotten really used to it and I can manage well enough that people don't aggravate. But LM potencies are lovely for chronic. They're only for chronics. They're not for acutes.
Exactly.
Because they're deeper and they're even, with babies, if they're very tiny, they haven't been on the planet very long and they've got something going on, I'll start them with a 30C for something. And usually they're fine. But if they come into the world and they have something that has been a big thing since birth, I'll decide, I might have them do an LM and see. Sometimes it's only 2 months and they're fine. But generally, they work so well and it makes your life so easy. And the people like taking something every day.
Yes. Yeah.
When they get towards the end of a bottle, sometimes people will tell me, oh, I'm starting to have that pain a little bit. Again, I'll say, let's do 2 times a day and I'll send you the next potency.
Okay.
And let me know how that's going. And usually that's enough to get them through.
Next stage. There's so much to talk about. Thank you so much, Robin, for coming in and opening this conversation, because I think it has opened up lots of topics for us. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a really great day.
Well, this brings us to the end of the episode today. I hope you have enjoyed it. It's actually opened up a whole series of questions, hasn't it? We talked about LM potencies. We talked about constitutional prescribing. We talked about the difference between acute flares and chronic diseases. We talked about asthma. We talked about various different remedies, including miasmatic remedies and phosphorus and pulsatilla and a whole series of other things. If you want to find out more about tuberculinum, because that's the remedy that Robin was talking about, then please do click on the link through here.